5. Dark chosen ones who carry spiritual authority no church can hold. What if I told you that some of the most spiritually powerful beings on this planet don't stand in pulpits, wear robes, or preach from sacred texts? What if I told you that 5 individuals walk among us, unseen and unknown by most, carrying a level of divine authority so raw, so ancient, and so untamed that no institution, no church, no temple, no religious system can hold them? They are not priests, not prophets, not enlightened monks in robes of saffron. They are the dark chosen ones. And their power is not given by men, it is born through fire, suffering, silence, and the kind of inner death that would break most souls. You won't find them in the spotlight. You won't hear them asking for donations. But when they walk into a room, the room changes. You feel it. Your breath shifts. Time slows. Something deep inside you either bows in reverence or recoils in fear. These beings, these dark chosen ones, carry a signature that does not align with traditional spirituality. They are not here to comfort you. They are here to wake you up. And sometimes that awakening feels like a storm. I'm not telling you this for entertainment. I'm not telling you this for views. I'm telling you this because you need to remember that real spiritual authority isn't always clean, it isn't always pretty, and it certainly isn't always accepted. Sometimes the ones who carry the deepest codes of truth are the ones who have been rejected, exiled, or nearly destroyed by the very systems meant to protect the sacred. And that's where we begin.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You see, every religion has a shadow. Every spiritual tradition, no matter how pure its origins, eventually gets structured, codified, and monetized. And when that happens, something vital is lost. Wildness. Spirit, in its rawest form, is untamable. But institutions fear what they cannot control, so they build walls, they create rules, they establish hierarchies. And in doing so, they exile the very ones who carry the undiluted essence of the divine. These 5 dark chosen ones? They didn't choose this path, it chose them. I met the first one in a desert. No name, no social media, no followers, just a man who had spent 21 days in silence, meditating beneath the burning sun, surviving only on dates and water. His eyes weren't just deep, they were ancient. When he spoke, it was as if the earth listened. He told me, "The Creator speaks loudest in stillness, but humans are addicted to noise." I asked him why he lived in solitude. He said, "Because the moment I entered the city, people either worshipped me or tried to destroy me. Neither response is true, so I left." That stuck with me. You see, the dark chosen ones don't run from the world because they hate it. They run from the illusion, and I want to ask you something right now. If your truth made everyone around you uncomfortable, would you still speak it, or would you dilute it to stay loved? The second one was a woman. You would never guess her power. She looked ordinary, modest, quiet. But energy doesn't lie. I felt it before I even saw her, a pulse like the hum of the earth before an earthquake. She carried pain, not as a wound, but as a weapon of clarity. She had lost everything, her child, her home, her identity. But in that loss, she found something the world doesn't teach: sovereignty. She told me, "Grief became my temple. I met God in the ashes." She didn't preach. She didn't quote scripture. She just was. And in that presence, I realized some of the most powerful people on earth don't need to say a word. Their energy is the sermon. Her spiritual authority wasn't given by any church. It was earned through suffering most people would never survive. And here's the paradox. The world honors those who look holy but ignores those who became holy through fire. Why do we do that? Why do we fear the ones who remind us that true transformation requires death? Death of ego, death of comfort, death of everything false. The third one was a young man, barely 25, but his soul was ancient. He had been struck by lightning, literally, twice, and both times he survived. But after the second strike, he wasn't the same. He could see things, hear things. His dreams became prophetic. He told me, "I'm not here to convince anyone. I just carry what I carry, and if they're ready, they'll feel it." He didn't want fame. He didn't even want to be found. But the power around him was unmistakable. Animals followed him. Children stared at him like he was a living myth. And when he placed his hand on my shoulder, my entire nervous system lit up like electricity. No words, just a transmission. That's what the dark chosen ones do. They don't teach, they transfer. They carry codes that awaken something dormant in you. And once it's awakened, you can't go back to sleep. But here's the catch. Their presence will disrupt you. It will challenge everything you thought you knew about God, love, healing, and truth. Because these beings are not here to be liked. They're here to be mirrors. And mirrors don't lie. The fourth one was a war veteran. PTSD, nightmares, rage. He had seen death too many times to pretend life was simple. But in the jungle, during an ayahuasca ceremony, something broke open. He saw the faces of the men he had killed. He wept for hours. And when the vision stopped, he wasn't the same. He became a healer not because he wanted to, but because he had to. Spirit demanded it. He told me, "I used to destroy, now I rebuild. But the fire still lives in me." That's the thing about the dark chosen ones. They don't get rid of their darkness. They own it. They transmute it. They walk into their pain and they come out with light. But not the kind of light that blinds you. The kind that burns through your illusions. Now I ask you, what part of your own darkness are you still afraid to face? What would happen if you didn't run from it, but walked straight into it with eyes open? And finally, the fifth. She's never been seen, only felt. Some say she's a myth. Others say she's an oracle who lives in the mountains of Tibet. I don't know if she's real in the physical sense, but I felt her in dreams, in visions, in that space between waking and sleep. They say she carries the last remaining codes of a lost civilization, and when the world is ready, she will emerge. But only when the noise has faded, only when the silence returns. She is the reminder that not all power is visible. Not all truth is spoken. These five are not random. They are chosen, not by man, but by mystery. They carry spiritual authority because they've died and come back, not physically but spiritually. And in that death, they found something the world has forgotten. Real power is not about control, it's about alignment. Alignment with truth, alignment with soul, alignment with the divine current that flows beneath everything. The dark chosen ones are not here to save us. They're here to remind us that we were never lost. The codes of the abyss, how darkness initiates the soul into divine authority. You've heard the stories. You've felt the tremor in your chest when someone speaks not from intellect but from soul, and now you're beginning to understand. Spiritual authority isn't found in light alone. It is born through descent, through chaos, through the abyss. This is the secret that religions have tried to sanitize, that gurus try to hide behind white robes and perfect smiles. The path to divine power often begins with devastation, and not the aesthetic kind. I'm talking about the kind of darkness that shatters your identity, breaks your mind, and leaves you crawling on the floor, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. The dark chosen ones have all walked through this. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Because every layer of ego, every false comfort, every illusion must be burned until what remains is unshakable, unnameable, and real. I need you to understand something deep right now. You cannot fake spiritual authority. You can quote scriptures, dress the part, gain followers, but if you haven't been broken open by your own shadows, your words will be empty. The world is full of spiritual performers, people who speak of love but haven't faced their hatred, who preach peace but haven't touched their rage. But the dark chosen ones, they don't avoid the abyss, they enter it willingly, and it is in that descent that they receive their codes. What are these codes? They are not information, they are transformation. They are not something you learn, they are something you become. A code is an imprint, a sacred geometric pattern of frequency that gets etched into the soul through experience. And the deepest codes are carved not in moments of bliss, but in moments of terror, grief, and surrender. When you are at your lowest and you still choose to stay open, still choose to feel, still choose truth over escape, that's when the code is delivered. And once it's there, it never leaves you. It becomes you. You carry it in your eyes, your voice, your breath. And others feel it, even if they don't understand it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gone through something so painful, so disorienting, that you didn't recognize yourself afterward? And instead of trying to go back to who you were, what if that pain was the exact door that was meant to open your real path? What if the breakdown was actually the beginning of your breakthrough? The dark chosen ones don't see darkness as the enemy, they see it as the teacher. Because only darkness can show you what light cannot. Light shows you beauty, darkness shows you truth. And truth is not always beautiful. Sometimes it's brutal. Sometimes it's the realization that the life you built was based on a lie. Sometimes it's the collapse of everything you thought would save you. But in that collapse, something eternal is born. I remember one of them once said to me, "I had to lose everything to find the one thing that can't be taken." That's the essence, that's the path. And this isn't just poetic, it's deeply practical. Because once you've faced your own abyss, you stop being manipulated by fear. You stop chasing validation. You stop needing people to understand you. And that's when your real power emerges, not as dominance, but as presence. You become immovable, unshakable, not because you're invincible, but because you've already died and come back. And here's the deep truth. The world doesn't need more light workers who are afraid of darkness. It needs warriors of the soul. Those who've been to hell and brought back heaven. Those who can sit with pain without trying to fix it. Who can hold chaos without collapsing. Who can speak truth even when their voice trembles. That's what the dark chosen ones represent. Not perfection, but integration. They are the living bridge between the sacred and the profane, between the divine and the human, between the seen and the unseen. Now I ask you, what have you survived that could become your authority? What wounds have you hidden that are actually your initiations? You don't have to wait for permission to step into your power, but you do have to be willing to face everything you've avoided. Because the throne of spiritual authority is not given, it is earned. In the dark, the unseen kingdom, why the most powerful souls must walk alone, there comes a moment on the path when everything familiar begins to fall apart, not because you're lost, but because you're being prepared to lead. And the truth is, true spiritual authority will always demand isolation before impact. The world teaches us that power comes with followers, crowds, applause, but the dark chosen ones know something deeper. Before you can carry the weight of divine presence, you must be emptied of everything false. And that process, it is lonely beyond words. Let me tell you this plainly. If you seek to awaken your true spiritual power, you will be misunderstood. You will be ridiculed, abandoned, even feared. Not because you are wrong, but because your very existence threatens the illusions others cling to. The dark chosen ones walk this road not because they want to, but because the soul demands it, and the road always begins the same way. Loss. Loss of relationships, loss of identity, loss of belonging. You'll try to explain yourself, to be understood, to stay connected to the old world, but the more you awaken, the more you realize that not everyone is meant to come with you. And that is where the unseen kingdom begins. You see, there is a realm just beyond the reach of ordinary perception where the truly initiated dwell. It's not a place of ego or hierarchy. It's not a place of spiritual vanity. It's a frequency, a vibration, a dimension of being where clarity rings like a silent bell, and truth is not debated. It is known. The dark chosen ones live here, not because they are elite, but because they have paid the price of admission, their former selves. You don't reach this kingdom by reading the right books or learning sacred techniques. You reach it by dying to everything you thought you were, and in that death, something vast and eternal begins to whisper through you. But the whisper is not loud, it's subtle, and to hear it, you must be willing to walk alone. There's a strange paradox here. As you rise in spiritual power, the world becomes more silent. The voices that once guided you fall away. The friends who once understood you drift. You no longer fit into categories. You become difficult to describe, to label, to define. And that's because you're no longer operating from personality, you're operating from essence. And essence doesn't need validation. Essence simply is. But let's be honest, this path hurts. It hurts to be unseen, it hurts to be called crazy, arrogant, delusional. It hurts to watch people you love turn away because your truth makes them uncomfortable, and yet this pain is part of the purification. The loneliness is not a punishment, it's a crucible, because in your isolation you begin to see what others cannot. You begin to feel the pulse of the divine in every breeze, every silence, every breath. You begin to operate not from logic, but from alignment, and that alignment becomes your compass. That is the kingdom unseen. One of the dark chosen ones once told me, "You only become truly dangerous to the matrix after you've made peace with being alone." That sentence lives in me. Because it's true. The system we live in feeds off your need to belong, your need to be liked, your fear of being different, but once those needs dissolve, you become untouchable. Not because you're above others, but because you're no longer of the world. You walk in it, but you are not owned by it. And here's what's wild. Once you truly embody this frequency, others begin to find you. Not the masses, not the crowd, but the right ones. The ones who've also walked through fire. The ones who recognize your vibration not with their minds, but with their souls. These are your tribe. And it's small, always small, because the deeper the truth, the fewer can hold it. But in that small circle there is strength, clarity, and presence beyond comprehension. So I ask you now, can you walk alone long enough to find your true tribe? Can you let go of needing to be understood so you can finally understand yourself? The unseen kingdom awaits, not in some distant afterlife, not in some hidden monastery, but here, now, in your breath, in your silence, in your willingness to be exactly who you are, even if no one claps for it. The final initiation, becoming the power that cannot be taken. There is a moment, quiet, unannounced, when something inside you clicks into place, not because of achievement, not because of validation, but because you've finally remembered who you are beneath the noise. This is the final initiation. It doesn't come with fire from the sky or visions of angels. It comes softly, like a breath after weeping. And yet, it is the most powerful threshold you will ever cross. Because once you cross it, you are no longer seeking power, you are power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that simply is. Unshakable, sovereign, untouchable. The dark chosen ones don't become legends because they seek greatness. They become legends because they surrendered everything that wasn't true. And what remains in that surrender is something no system can contain. Presence. Real presence. The kind that doesn't need to speak to be heard. The kind that shakes illusions just by walking into a room. This is the power the world cannot commodify, the power no church can hold. Because it is not a doctrine, it is a frequency, and once you embody it, you become a living transmission. By this point, you've already died 1,000 times. You've faced your fears, lost your identity, walked through isolation and burned through illusion after illusion, and now you're standing at the edge of something holy, not because it's sacred by tradition, but because it's sacred by truth. You realize that the final initiation isn't an event, it's a state of being. It's when you no longer need to prove anything, fix anything, or seek anything. You've stopped looking for the light because you are the light, and the dark too, all of it integrated. But here's the secret. The moment you no longer need power, you receive it, not as a gift, but as recognition. Life itself begins to respond to you differently. Animals trust you, children feel safe around you, strangers open up for no reason. Opportunities align, not because you chase them, but because you've become a magnet for what is real. This is spiritual authority in its rawest form. Not something you wield, but something you embody. Not something you teach, but something you transmit. And yet, even here, in this final stage, humility is everything, because the moment you think you've arrived, you've already left. The dark chosen ones never claim to be enlightened. They don't brand themselves as gurus, they remain students forever, because they know that the deeper you go, the more mystery there is. The higher you rise, the more you must bow, not to others, but to the infinite intelligence that orchestrates it all. That is the paradox of real power. The more you hold it, the less you need to use it. So the real question is, what kind of power are you becoming? Are you becoming the kind that needs to be seen, or the kind that transforms everything just by being? Are you becoming the kind that demands attention, or the kind that awakens souls in silence? Because the final initiation is not about fame. It's not about enlightenment. It's about becoming a vessel for divine will, even when no one is watching. This is where the dark chosen ones live. Beyond reward, beyond punishment, beyond identity. They no longer act from desire. They act from alignment. And in that alignment, they carry the kind of power that cannot be taken, because it was never given by the world in the first place. So I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped chasing and started becoming? What would happen if you no longer feared your own power, but honored it as sacred? This is the path of the dark chosen ones. Not a title, not a tribe, a frequency, a remembering, a return. And now the choice is yours. Will you rise, not into light, not into dark, but into truth? Because once you do, you'll understand no church can hold what you carry